Double progression is an old school progression method that happens to work. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today, but a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, be greatly appreciated. And if you are not following or subscribed, please do so. And if you'll be kind enough to drop me a comment down below, please do so, particularly if you have ever used any variation double progression here. Tell me about it down below. I would appreciate it. All right, so let's get over to this topic. It's kind of funny because I forgot this word was a thing, and I've had people, I'm gonna laugh. I've had people ask me about it in live streams and stuff. And I'm like, oh, we don't need any complicated progression, blah, blah, blah. I kind of laughed, right? But I forgot that double progression is something I've literally written into programs I put in public. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. It's an old school, we're talking like 1950s and 60s, was routinely used. And so since we're talking about old school training right now, I think it's appropriate to do that. So if you guys remember, a perfect example, people who followed my stuff a long time, remember when I wrote like the Jason basic program for non-athletes, or the Jason Blaha program for non-athletes? It was a double progression. So generally what this would mean, because it is very difficult once you finish the novice phase, always to progress. Like nobody is coming in and adding weight every workout. It's simply not happening. Once you're done with the novice phase, you can forget that happening. So with double progression, what that means is you progress reps, then weight, right? Reps, then weight. And so I give this to a lot of people when I give them programs. And so what you'll do with this, you will take, so let's say you picked 5 to 8 reps. Let's say, here's a beautiful way. Let's talk about your compounds and your isolation movements, okay? So let's say a lot of your big compounds, you've chosen 5 to 8. And let's say your isolation movements, you've chosen 8 to 12. Okay, you guys ready? Here's how this works. So on any of those compound movements, let's say you're doing 3 sets of 5. You're doing 3 sets of them, all right? With this sort of approach, what we would do, you start with 5 reps and you gradually add reps. Anytime you can pick up a 6th rep, you do so, right? So you try to pick up a 6th rep, and then you try to pick up a 7th rep. You gradually add reps. And the idea is once you can get to 3 sets of 8 on all the sets, what do? Well, you increase the weight, right? You increase the weight. Now, does it need to be heavy enough to go back down to 5? Sure, it could. So you could assess based on a 1 rep max calculator. You could say, okay, we got there, so I need to add some weight, right? And that might be how you approach it. You add a little bit of weight. Perfectly viable approach. You could add 2.5 pounds. You could have 5 pounds to a big movement, or you could go up and say, look, you know what, guys, I did whatever. I did 315 for 3 by 8. I can put 10 pounds on here. So in other words, you add weight till it goes back down, right? And you could take it as heavy as going back down to 5. If it's a movement and you're not doing a serious cut or anything, and it's a movement like that, you could absolutely do that. And I think that's a perfectly valid and reasonable way to approach it. And I think this works really, really well for people just trying to do slow, lean gains. So your application for something like this, I think, is definitely once you finish your novice phase and you're doing what I would call it like lean bulking or recomping most of the time, because you're not going to gain a bunch of muscle and there's no need for you to do a real bulk. And so if you're not blasting a significant amount of magical supplements, an approach like this works. Right, and so what you could do, you could take your big movements and you can do them in that 5 to 8. Okay, and again, it doesn't mean this is the only method. It just works really, really well for things like straight sets. Right, so if you're not doing that top set and then back down work, you're not doing something like a Widowmaker squat. You're not doing any sort of titration there as far as pyramiding. Okay, it works really, really well. Now, some people will do it even for pyramiding type sets, but that's going to be a little more complicated, isn't it? Right? So this is a relatively simple approach, and you can just do it on all your sets if you want. Or Alternatively, if you are doing something like just one set of a movement, like deadlifts, okay, it is a perfectly viable approach, right? It's a perfectly viable approach, and it absolutely works, and it can work, and it works just fine. So again, it could be the same sort of thing. It could literally be the same sort of thing. So let's say you're doing that with a deadlift and you're doing 5 days. Same thing, just your one set. When you get there, you increase the weight. All right. And then you would do the same thing with the smaller exercises. And those are going to take a long time, obviously. So let's say with a barbell curl, you're doing 8 to 12. And I like this sort of setup for compound movements or for small movements. Right, an 8 to 12 works really good for your isolation work, or a 10 to 12. Okay, works really well even as a 10 to 12. Because a lot of your isolation you may not want to go down to 8. But at 8 to 12 works also. So what you would then do, the same thing. You add reps. So let's say you're doing barbell curls with 75 pounds. And let's say that's about 8 reps is about all you can get for 3 sets. So then you just work on that for an extended period of time of getting a 9th rep, a 10th rep. And when you get to the 12 reps, what do? You add 2.5 pounds or add 5 pounds. Whatever it takes for you to get down to around that 8 to 9 rep range again. And again, that's the idea. Every time you get to 12 reps for all 3 sets, it's time to increase that weight. All right, and this works extremely well, has a great track record of success. It's been used for decades, and for people who are just chasing hypertrophy and a physique, I think it works really well of picking something like that. Picking a couple of rep ranges for your different exercise types and just running with it on that. Again, my opinion, works extremely well. It works extremely well, and I'm a fan of it. Absolutely a fan of it. So again, the whole idea here is to have continual progressive overload, but this is progressive overload for the more advanced lifter. And by more advanced, we don't mean you need to be an advanced lifter, right? You don't have to be advanced per se. You could simply be someone who has finished their new gains and they're not doing any sort of serious bulk again. Because keep in mind, we're not getting the fat leverages without a serious bulk. It's purely lean tissue. And again, it works very, very well. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.